Well, it's almost go time. 10 seconds,
Yep.
less than 10 seconds.
5 seconds. 4, 3, 2.
We have
Linnea,
left
you're
off.
on.
I love that. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March Menomonee Falls Camera Club. I think you're starting right away with Drema. And Drema, I am so excited to hear your presentation. And Jeff, I'm wondering, would you mind doing the proper introductions? I'm being completely transparent. I had to look up what photopills was. So I am I would prefer that somebody who can, introduce you better because I'm going to be taking notes during this.
Okay, I can give it a shot. Drema's given this before for our digital forum, and she did such a nice job with it. And so I asked her to come. She shows up on our digital forum panel all the time. She's very knowledgeable on photopills. She probably knows photopills better than any of us. I use it a little bit. She uses it a lot more. So she will never say she's an expert, but I consider her an expert compared to a lot of people out there. So I'm not sure, Drema, what camera club you're with these days. It's
Right now, I'm with Ware.
Okay, you're with Weir. Okay.
In Whitnall Park, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna replace the spotlight for you, put you in the big spotlight there. And thank you, Drema, for coming. I don't know if you want to tell a little bit about yourself and how you got to get so much knowledge on photopills.
Well, I have been using photopills for a long time. I've shot skies all over the world, night skies all over the world. I went to the second photopills camp in Spain in 2018, and I've been back twice. So I've been to their camp in Menorca in the Spanish islands 3 times and gotten to know the developers and a lot of the people involved with photopills. For those who don't know what photopills is, it is a phone app that helps photographers figure out how to plan shoots that involve something in the sky, whether it's astronomical phenomena like the Milky Way or sunrise, sunset, all kinds of different things. Are there any people here that have used photopills? How many of you have used it? Good, maybe you could help me because he says I'm an expert, but I'm a bit rusty. I haven't been shooting a lot in the last year, and I haven't been shooting night skies very much. The skies here in Wisconsin have a lot of light pollution. I've been up to Door County twice and not been able to catch a good evening or a good night where there's a clear sky. But I'll do my best. So to get started, let me share my screen. I think this is the one. No, wait. I got to pick the right screen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a trick.
Yeah. So is everyone seeing my, I have my camera, my cell phone live on screen here. Is everyone seeing this?
Yep.
And then I have a PDF document that Jeff, I sent that to you yesterday. I don't know if you sent it out to
I
all.
hadn't sent it out, and I'm just pulling it up again, and I will put it both in the chat here, and then I'm going to send it out to everybody. So
Okay. So what I was gonna cover, I wrote this a couple of years ago when I did the presentation for either one of the camera clubs that I used to be a member of in California, or either for the Digital Forum. A couple of years ago, it must have been for the Digital Forum. But what I basically want to do is just go over some of the basics of what the program is and some of the basic parts. I think a lot of people that have trouble using photopills, a lot of it is just getting started and figuring out how to get into it and how to use it. There's a big competitor for photopills. They're actually the developers out of San Diego, and it's called Planet Pro, Planit. I used to use it. I called it up on my phone about a week ago and thought that I would just come up to speed. There's some things that it does better than photo pills, and I kind of wanted to be able to to present that if possible. But it's so complicated. It's going to take me more than a week to get back into that program. So getting into the programs, I think, and learning basics of it is some of the part of the problem. So this is my phone here live. And what I'm going to start going over is just the things in this document. I kind of wish you guys had this in front of you. But basically, I'm going to go over the widgets, which on the phone here, I have my photo pills widgets that there's 5 different widgets that they produce. And on the first page of this document, I talk about what the widgets are and how to get them if you're on the iOS.
Yeah, and I just put the your PDF in the chat so everybody can grab it from the chat and download it if they'd like to follow along.
Yeah. So to briefly, to get these widgets on your phone, this is the big widget I have there is the photo pills on the in the document. It's this photo pills widget here called photo pills. So if you go to a blank place on your phone, I think if you long press, then you can get to your widgets. And if you scroll down to photo pills, and I think it's about the same on an Apple iOS phone. But if you go to the 5 widgets, you'll see these 5 widgets that you can drag and drop. One of the things that you can do with these is if you have widgets set up for your local area where you know the time and date and everything set up for your local area, if you're traveling, you can actually put a second widget on there and specify the location. So if I was interested in sunrise, sunset, and that sort of thing, I could drag and drop, or not. For example, I can drag and drop the widget onto my screen and let go, and it'll pull up a set of settings for that widget, and then I can go in and specify my location. So the one that I just picked was the sun widget. And so let's say, because I used to live in San Diego, I'm traveling there and I want the information on San Diego. And so this is just the transparency on the screen and whether you want it dark or light. So there's the second, the sun widget. So on my other screen, I had the local, I'm in Franklin, I had the local Franklin. This is the one that includes everything. And this is the widget that's for plans. You can save plans for what you're planning to do and save them to a name. And then I have 4 displayed here of things that I've set up before and saved to a plan. But on this one, you can see it's got the time of sunset and sunrise in San Diego. So that's kind of fun. But to get into the actual product itself, I'm going to go to my PhotoPills icon and click on it. And when you click on it, it opens a screen. Now, the reason that they called it photo pills is because they consider it going to the doctor to help you figure out how to do some photo shoots. And there's all different kind of pills that the doctor can give you. And there's a whole big long list of pills. Frankly, I almost always just use the planner. There's a lot of good stuff here. There's information on the depth of field and how to set up for your particular camera, the depth of field. There's exposure information. So each one of these blocks is a pill that helps you figure something out. A lot of the stuff, especially the sun and the moon stuff, is in the planner, so you don't have to go to a separate pill. Also on the screen is the 3 menus at the top is just my stuff is just some plans that your plans you save, your settings and that sort of thing. And the Academy is a good place to go to click on links to go to the video tutorials to learn more about it or the user guide. But the main part of the program is the pills. And so I'm going to click on the planner and go into the planner. And so you go into the planner and your 4 parts are immediately visible. Yeah, there's the 4 parts of this is the top panel. So right here on the top, there's 11 panels. And I list those on page 4. There's the map area, there's the time bar, and there's the bottom menu. So looking at the top panels, every top panel, I can scroll through all 11 of them. If there's actually some little dots here, if I can put it where it's a little darker and I can see the background, there's 11 dots and they move as you move through all the panels. So the panels are things about, I don't think the order of them is very good. The first one, for example, is a shadow length calculator. And I don't think that's one of the most important things that people do when they're playing around with doing plans and calculations. Sometimes if you're shooting like a lighthouse or a building.
5210376. Was that other lady, the Leone or whatever her name was?
Is somebody asking a
I
question?
gotta go find that piece of paper.
Was there a question?
We got
I was hearing.
we got somebody on the phone. I'm going to just mute them.
Oh, okay. So I don't think that I think they could have a better organization of those 11 panels. Typically, what people will want to go to right away is information about the sun and the moon. But there's information on where the moon is, and this is all interactive. If I go down here to the time bar, right now I'm set on this afternoon on March 4th. You can move the time bar to.
Yes, it is. I did see your call. I'm on a Zoom meeting right now, but I hung up quickly because I was listening to some very important information. So
that was more important than this.
Ken's gonna have to
well, if you
mute
want
himself.
to
Ken, you're unmuted.
That's up to you. It's
I don't know if
here.
you can hear
I'm
him.
not going
He's
to go any
actually
farther
on-
with it. You
he
find out
is
what you might
muted.
want to do with Best
It
Buy.
shows unmuted here.
Okay. Like the Best Buy.
So
Wait a minute. I'm talking to 2 different people. All right.
There we go.
There we go.
Nice,
I got
man.
him.
sorry.
Sorry about
so-
that.
So these panels give you information, and almost every panel has an icon on the left that does something, and then information about that particular panel. So this is gives you information about when there's civil, nautical, and astronomical twilight for the date and time that is set on your time bar. And then you continue, it gives you blue hour, golden hour, and then there's a couple of panels about the Milky Way and finding the galactic center. There's a panel, oh, I didn't know I had the eclipse set. There's an eclipse on Friday. I think when I did this presentation before, I went over how to do set up a plan for shooting the Milky Way at night. But since we're having a total lunar eclipse this Friday morning, I think after I go over the basics of what's on here, I'm going to go over how to set up an eclipse and how to figure out the eclipse and when it is and where and that sort of thing. There are 2 panels for eclipses and then 1 panel for meteor showers. So back on the first panel on my phone, I can go faster, I think. The second panel is for putting a the black dot, the red pin, black pin. The red pin is for where your shooting location is, where you're sitting on the map. And so the black one is what you're shooting. So let's say that I wanted to set up a shoot where I am shooting, this is downtown Milwaukee, and I want to shoot out the harbor. And so I can pick that red pin up and set it right where I want to shoot. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer. and I wanted to shoot let's say the Milwaukee Pierhead Lighthouse. So if I turn that black pin on, it will show up somewhere on the screen, and then you can move the black pin to where you want it to be. And so for the 5th of March at 9:34 a.m., the moon height, I don't know that we have a moon. Well, it says 23 feet from where we're setting to where you're looking is 23, almost 2,400 feet. The azimuth, which is the direction from the north, is 76 degrees. And the altitude difference between those two spots is -7 feet. The moon height will be 147 feet. So if you want to go out and shoot, actually, I would rather be interested probably in shooting sunrise there when the sun comes up right over the lighthouse. But talking about the map, there's a trick to the map. So I covered the panels, but the map has lots of information. You can click on this button here. You can, just like on Google Maps, you can change the map type, which most of you probably already did, or you can turn off all these, on or off all these layers. So I just turned on the satellite view, and I turned off the sun and the moon. So if you click on this plus button, then you'll get a whole bunch of other buttons that you can do things. The one I use the most is the first button that locates you where you are. So if I click on that, it just put the red pin right where I live, right here in Franklin, on my house. So there's a way, well, I moved it, so I need to, if I'm going to keep playing with Milwaukee, I need to move it back. I can't zoom with my mouse, so I have to actually use 2 fingers on the phone itself. So those buttons will do all kinds of things. Another way to move the red pin, if you touch on the screen, it should move. I don't know if it'll do it with the mouse. Yeah, it did. If you touch down on the screen, you can move the red pin that way. But another way to move the red pin, if you want to zoom in and get it very, very accurate, I know that at that location there's a boat ramp there, and I've actually shot from the corner of that. There's a street with the end of the street with some parking, and there's a little concrete pad there, and I've shot from there. If I wanted to get it very, very accurate, I could just go to this pin right here and click on the pin, and it'll put an X, and then you can move the map right exactly to where you want it, and then click it again, and it'll put the red pin there. So that's just another way to move the red pin around. And like I said, the black pin is what you're shooting, your target of what you're shooting. So the time bar, I have a list in this document of what all the map layers are, and what the buttons are of all of the different buttons, so you can read through there if you want. The time bar, if you double click, single click, if I single click on the time bar, then I get this screen where you can go in and set the date, to whatever you want, and put in the time zone. My phone automatically detects what time zone it's in, so all of a sudden I'm looking at the date. So if, let's say I'm interested in sunrise on that particular day, let me zoom in and put that black pin exactly on the lighthouse. So I want to shoot the sun coming up behind that lighthouse at the Milwaukee Harbor. Let's see if I can do this. First of all, I'm interested in sunrise, so I'm going to turn on the sun layer. And the sun layer puts several lines on it. The first line, the dark yellow line, is the location of the sunrise. The dark orange line is the location of sunset. And as I move the timeline, you can see that that's where the sun is at that time, the angle of the sun. I have at the bottom of this, I have twilights turned on. If I turn that off and I move the time back and forth, you'll not see any difference on the map and the color. But if I turn that twilights back on and I move the timeline, you will see that it shows blue hour, golden hour, daytime, and then back in the nighttime. So if I want to shoot sunrise here, I'm not going to be able to do it on June the 12th because the sun's going to be way north of the lighthouse. But if I do, let's see, I do a find. I'm rusty at this one, so I want to find sun. It'll give me this screen, and I want it sometime between, well, these two dates. I could change it to start date to today. What is today? The 4th. And then sometime in 2027. And I want the elevation to be very close to the horizon, and I want the azimuth to be that between the red. They put a yellow pin here, the red pin and the yellow pin. I saw that the other day, and I'm not sure I recall why they had why they changed it to a yellow pin, but obviously it's the direction that it wants to look. So if I then do a search, see if this works, the first day that it meets those requirements is April the 3rd. So there's the sunrise. So you can see the dark yellow line of sunrise goes right through the lighthouse. So if I go down to the harbor and set my tripod and camera up right there on April 3rd, 2025 at 6:32 a.m., I should get the sun rising right behind that lighthouse. So that's the kind of thing that we can do here. And as you can, typically what you want to do when you're doing this with the moon is you want the moon behind the lighthouse or slightly above the lighthouse. And that's when the pin size comes into really important. The sun height is going to be 5 feet from the black pin, which will be behind the lighthouse and not behind the top of the lighthouse. If you wanted it to be a little bit above the lighthouse, then you would have to do the different calculations when I'm putting in the elevation and the azimuth there. I would have to do it a little bit higher and make sure that it's, however tall the lighthouse is. The lighthouse is likely 25 or 30 feet tall. You can look that up. Most of the lighthouses, you can look up their heights on the internet. But that's an example. In the document, it tells you a few tricks about using the time bar, swiping, and that sort of thing. And at the bottom of the PhotoPills app are another set of icons, the bottom icons. And I just showed you the find icon where you do a search on a specific thing that you're looking for. If I wanted to do a moon shot, a moon rising over the lighthouse, then I would put in I wanted it within the next year sometime. You can put in those dates that you're interested in looking for it, and the elevation a little bit higher. You might want to put in 30 feet or whatever. And there's a plus and a minus on there for how much play that you have in what you want to shoot. And then you can calculate when the moonrise is over that lighthouse. One of the neat things about this product is the augmented reality. There's an augmented reality and there's a night augmented reality. And what that is, it's kind of hard to show on here because it's easier when you're standing outside, but I'll show you what this is. On the augmented reality, it's for daytime. I have my moon layer turned off, but I'm going to turn it on. And when I click on augmented reality, I'm going to pick my phone up off my desk and you'll see my computer in my house. This gives you a real life view of the augmented reality of what's actually there. So if I'm standing out at the Milwaukee Harbor and I have the date set here, that is April the 3rd, set at 6:32 a.m. for sunrise, then my phone is kind of pointed kind of easterly, a little bit north of east. But if I swipe either left or right, you'll see the sun is right there near at the horizon where I had set it before I went into augmented reality. If I swipe left and right, you'll see the time here change. So at 5:50, I think it was 6:30 when the sun rises that day on April the 3rd. If I continue swiping to the left, it moves the time up and it'll show you exactly where the sun is. So if I'm standing out there over that lighthouse, I can turn on my augmented reality and hold the phone up and actually see where the sun is going to be behind the lighthouse. It gives you a visual presentation. And the same thing for the nighttime augmented reality, except for it shows you the Milky Way. And there it is. I'm pointing my phone kind of that's south. It's a little bit west of south. So I'm looking southwest right now. And if I tilt my phone up or tilt it down, you see my house, but my mess. But the Milky Way, if it was not raining outside, if it was if it was clear out and I was standing out on my front porch pointing my phone in the same direction, that little orange dot there is the galactic center of the Milky Way. So if it wasn't a lot of light pollution out here, I could set my tripod up in my front yard and get the Milky Way, photograph the Milky Way over top of my neighbor's house across the street. So that's kind of fun. And again, if I swipe my phone right or left, you can see the time changes and the Milky Way will move. I'm still on April the 3rd, so if I'm going nighttime, you can see the Milky Way is rotating. And so if at 3 o'clock in the morning you want to go out and shoot the Milky Way horizontally across the sky, well, this is the horizon right here, the horizon line. And so it's going to rise above the horizon, go above the horizon line I'm at 2:46 a.m. So if you want to shoot a vertical Milky Way, it's more like 5 a.m. And in April, I think sunrise is at 7:30 or something. So you can keep shooting the Milky Way until it goes almost into gold. That's kind of turned golden. It's going into golden hour, which is, sunrise is about 6:45. And then of course in the daytime you can't see the Milky Way. So this augmented reality is kind of fun. One of the things that I have seen some of my friends do on the other product, Planet Pro, is that they have a similar augmented reality, but they will use Google Street View for it. I asked the developers when I was at the camp about that, and they said that they intended to add that to this product, but that was like 3 years ago. I was there in 22 last time. So yeah, it's been like 3 years ago and they haven't added it yet. So I don't know if they ever plan to, but it's really handy. Right now, if I had Street View on here, I could actually go to Street View in Google Maps and project this augmented reality on top of whatever Street View is downtown, and you can do your planning. So let's actually do an actual plan. So like I said, there's a total lunar eclipse. I don't know if you're aware, but Friday morning there's a total lunar eclipse that covers almost the entire I think it does cover the entire United States. So let's take a look at that. First of all, I'm going to turn off my black pen. I'm going to turn off just for right now, the sun and the moon layer. And I'm going to go to, actually, I'm just gonna go to the eclipse panel and turn it on there. So no eclipse is loaded. Tap the button to load one. So I'm going to click on there, and I'm going to go to, it's already, it already remembered it. But typically when I've gone, because I was doing this the other day, typically when I go in here, I sort by the body, whether I want a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. And so I want a lunar eclipse, and it's got from 1931 all the way up. Wow. Was that 1931? Oh, maybe that's 2031. I don't know. But I need to find the one that's in 2025, 23, 24, 25. Oh, that's solar. I went beyond. Is there a way to search? Yeah, these are 2030s, not 1930s. So I want to go back to 25 here. Well, it's in yellow. So if I click on that, it will load that that eclipse. And the eclipse is, if I go to the next panel, for the location of the red pin, it tells you the times of the eclipse. And I want to set this up because I was thinking about a neat place to go to shoot this would be over Holy Hill, the lunar eclipse over Holy Hill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my map to Holy Hill, and you guys might have to help me find it. Well, first of all, before I do that, I'm going to go back to the regular map type standard. Map type standard. And I'm going to show you the lines for the eclipse. And so they're really big. And each one of these lines, and I was going to look this up and see what these symbols, these abbreviations all mean. They have to do with the shadow, of how the shadow falls across the earth. And I'm not sure what P1, U1 stands for. It has to do with, I think, penumbrum shadow. If there's any astronomers here, you might be able to describe this better than I can. But the shadow is in between these two sets of lines. So if I'm in Africa, I'm going to get part of the lunar eclipse, but I'm not going to get the total eclipse. The total eclipse is, from what I understand, is from this last line all the way over to this line. So the entire country is going to get the total eclipse. And so my mouse won't zoom. I have to do it on my phone. So I'm going to zoom in. We're within the area of the eclipse. And I'm going to go to Holy Hill. And you guys are closer to Holy Hill than I am. I have trouble seeing my phone. So Holy Hill is near Hartford. And if I go.
Yeah, if you get to Richfield, 167 is the highway.
Whoops.
So if you go up 41.
41.
41 until you hit, keep going, keep going north.
I was wanting to, there you go. I needed the little X. 41, Menomonee. There you guys are.
There's Menomonee Falls, yeah.
And keep
going north. Well, no, that's too far.
Newburgh.
167 there. You see 167. You cross 164, and it's before you hit 83, so it's about in the middle there. On the other side of 164, yeah, keep going a little bit.
On the other side?
Yeah.
Oh, it's right in here, isn't it?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in there. There it is.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the red pin at that picnic area right there. And then I'm going to change my map back to satellite view so that you can see it. And yeah, there's a picnic area right there. And so if we set our camera up right there and we turn on, let's see, what do we do next? We turn on the moon layer. And it will show you the times. Now I need other glasses. It will show you the times of the eclipse. So right now I'm still on 3/13 at 3:48 p.m., which is this mark right here. But if I click on this little icon, it will jump between the different times of the eclipse. The eclipse, is this correct? It starts at 10:58.
Yeah.
March 13th, that's Friday, right? Is that right? No, it's March 7th. So what did I do wrong? March 14th.
March 14th.
Oh,
It's
it's
a week
next
from
Friday.
this Friday. Yeah, next
Yeah,
Friday, not this
the
Friday.
eclipse, yeah, the eclipse is next Friday, not this Friday. So I'm going to go back here and get the black pen. Again, I wish there was an easier way to move between these panels. Whoops.
Drema, I have a question.
Sure.
Because daylight saving starts on the 9th, does that adjust for time differences?
Yes, yes. In fact, if I put the date here on the 8th and go back here, you'll notice, let's see if I can play with this. 10:58 p.m. Oh, it didn't take. Try that again. Oh, I have to hit
Because
okay.
I think daylight saving starts on Sunday the 9th or
Right, so
late
I'm going to
Saturday.
the 8th. I'm at 10:58 p.m. And if you see, as I move the time
Okay.
bar, 11 p.m.
Okay.
And let's watch it jump. I think it's, what time is, yeah, here it is. It's 1:40 and all of a sudden it's 3:40. So it actually jumps
Okay.
an hour when it skips over.
Okay. Okay.
But that's
Good to know.
a really good point. I've had to play with that and figure it out before myself. So I'm going to go back to the eclipse, reload it, and don't get out, and go back to the next panel, and then click on this. That actually has a little icon. You can't see it very well. Right now I'm at 2:32, but each time I click on this icon, it will hop between each one of these times. So right now it's 2:32. If I click on it, it will be 3:48. And that's the last, well, 5:01. You can see the moon starts to go out from underneath the eclipse. So the orange circle is the sun. The dark shadow around the sun is the shadow. And so between where the sun is and where the edge of that is the partial eclipse as it's moving in or out of the eclipse. And then the little white dot is the moon. So it ends at 5:01. So if I click again, it'll hop back over to 10:58. So it starts at 10:58 p.m. and it kind of comes in from a kind of a upper angle, and then it goes down through. It's right now in the shadow, and when I click next, that's the total eclipse. Lunar eclipse starts at 1:26 a.m. and then I click again, 1:59. It's right in the middle, and then the last part of the total eclipse is at 2:32, and then there's a partial at 3:48 a.m. and then 5:01. So I had meant to turn on the black pen because I want to put the black pen on the basilica itself, which is right here. Come on.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And you can be pretty exact. Yeah, there's the building right there. So you can put it right in the middle and then zoom back out. And so as I move through, if I move through the time bar, it will actually show you the moon going, you can see the line moving over top. So if, oh, another thing is I just held I held the long press down. It changes the time bar to a more granular time so that as you move it, it just moves a little bit. But if I hold it down again, then it's not as granular. So if I'm shooting that night and I need to do it on my phone, the mouse is not working very well. If I want to put the moon right over the basilica, then that's going to happen at 1:57 a.m. And I'll look at the panel again in a moment, but I think that's while it's in total, that's during the period of the total eclipse. So the moon height, however, is going to look like it's 1,382 feet above the ground level, the level that you are. The size of the moon is going to look like it's 18 feet. So you figure out those towers on top of the basilica. I don't know how wide they are. They're maybe 20 feet. So the further you get away from what you're shooting, the bigger the moon's going to look. At 18 feet, it's going to look like it's about the same size as one of those towers, I think, or maybe even a little smaller, but it would probably be a good distance. There's a guy, I think his name is Steve Mann, that lives up somewhere up there. He shoots the moonrise and sunrise over the Holy Hill all the time. I've looked at where he shoots from, and he shoots from the road near this intersection over here. I think I actually set up one of his shots one time to see where he's shooting from, and I think I have a plan saved for that, and I'd like to go up there. I don't know that I'm going to go up and shoot next Friday night. Who knows? Or Friday morning. Who knows? I might, but if I wanted to, I could. The problem is that earlier in the evening, the moon is going to be really high up, and while this area is kind of lower because Holy Hill's up on a hill, so you're kind of looking up at it. It might be okay to have the moon going over top of the basilica. It's going to be very dark. Usually when you're shooting the moon in the nighttime when it's really dark, it's hard to get a good exposure because the moon is actually very bright because it's sunlight. And so to get the exposure right for something that you're shooting when there's a full moon in the picture, that's why people put fake moons in most of their shots, is because you can't get the exposure of both of them right. With the eclipse, it's going to make the moon dimmer, and so you might be able to get an exposure that's good for both the Holy Hill Basilica and the moon in the picture too. However, as the moon starts to move down later in the evening or in the morning until 5 o'clock in the morning, the moon will go down towards the horizon and be a better shot, but it won't be at the angle that you need for shooting over the basilica. I've seen some people shoot pictures where they've shot the sequence of the moon going through the different stages of the eclipse. I don't know if that would work here, but who knows? There's also a place to shoot right below the basilica. I've been in there. It's like a parking area. I think it might be. It's right at the bottom of the hill. It might be right here. And that might be a better place to shoot because you're looking up, and it might put the moon right behind the basilica. The problem is when you're that close to the basilica, the moon will be very small. Like I said, that you have to get further away for the moon to be bigger in the picture.
Drema, if I remember right, that park, I've been there a few times. I don't believe you can see the church from that where you want to go. I could be mistaken, but I remember taking the pathway down there and I did not see it down there.
You mean where the red pin is set up?
Yes.
I think you're right because of the trees, but right now the trees are bare. And so we don't have a lot of leaves on the trees, and I think it might be visible. I think this road right here, it definitely is visible from there because I've actually stopped along that road
Yes, correct.
and shot, but you might be right. If you're set up here, it actually might be a little bit better. And you might have a better view. It would take some scouting, but again, if I was scouting this and I actually wanted to shoot this for real, I would take a drive up there. I would set my time and date on my photo pills, and I would use my augmented reality and set it up and move the augmented reality and watch the moon go across, and you can see exactly where it is. Trying to do this just from, estimates is a little harder. But I don't know. It's cold. I'm not walking real well because I had surgery in January. So I probably won't go up there. I was going to say, if anyone wants to go up, I might be open to it, but I think it's a little too cold for me this time of year. So any questions?
Drema, I actually do. I am blown away by this. I thought that photographers just had luck. I had no idea that there was a tool like this. So while you were talking, though, I looked on my phone on the app and I see photo pills. And I see you can download it $10.99. Is that a one-time price? Is that per month? What is the cost?
I paid for that. I think I paid $10 and they've raised it to $10.99. I bought it. The first time I went to Photopills was 2018. And so it was prior to 2018 where I bought it. And I have never paid another penny for it. When I was with the developers over there, they kept releasing upgrades and stuff when they added new features. And I said, you guys need to charge for your upgrades. And Herman, the head developer, said to me, we're not that interested we're more interested in building a community than we are making a whole bunch of money off of this. They have other ways to make money. They are starting to set up a community that has worldwide trips and stuff like that. I'm always getting emails about the different places around the world where they're setting it up, and those are very lucrative. So as far as the app itself, they have not upgraded. You charged more for it. So it's a one-time fee.
My 2 cents worth, I think I looked up some information regarding it, and it is $10.99, but it is a one-time.
Right.
Right now it's just a one-time charge. So it's
But it's been a
that's what they say
one-time
it is.
charge for more than 7 years.
Yeah, right. So I mean, it's not a subscription. Let's put it that way. So if you
Right.
buy it, you got it.
Yeah, it's cheap. They did say in 22 they were doing a bunch of stuff that they were going to have a subscription because there's a lot of things that they have to pay for. They said that every time someone moves a red pin on the Google Maps, they get charged a tiny fraction of a cent by Google. And so that's costing them. And there's a bunch of stuff that they want to add that they have to pay, like tide tables. They can't get them without paying a company that does the calculations. And so they were talking about going to a voluntary subscription for it, for upgrades and stuff. But that was 2 years ago, going on 3 years ago, and they still haven't released that upgrade. I think I might email them and ask them about it and what their plans are, because I haven't heard since I was there in 22.
Well,
You
it's sort
leave
of
that email?
interesting with the iPhone. They're using Apple Maps.
Yeah, you have a choice, more map choices in
Right.
iPhone than you do
So
here.
that
We
could
have
be,
just the regular, the same maps I have on Google Maps. Even when I'm on a browser on my computer, I have those same ones. But yeah, the Apple iPhone has more choices in
Yeah.
their maps. And there are some little differences. They try to make it as much the Android and the iPhone as much alike as possible. So we have couple more minutes. Do people want me to talk about how to calculate an eclipse? I mean, a Milky Way shot? Is that something you guys would be interested in? Shall I keep going?
That would be great.
Yes,
Sure.
please.
So here on the panel for the Milky Way, on my document, I talk about the beginning of the season and the middle and the end of the season. The Milky Way, we see the Milky Way completely around us every night, but the looking away from the center of the Milky Way isn't as many stars. It's not as bright. When you look towards the center of the Milky Way and towards the big black hole, Sagittarius A, I think it's called, then you have all the gas clouds and the beautiful Milky Way that you see in so many pictures. There's a season for it in the northern hemisphere. Well, I think most of the earth, I'm not sure, but it begins in March and it's always to the south and it ends about November. And it moves it starts out in March to the southeast. In the middle of the season, it's almost due south, and then it moves slightly to the southwest. One of the problems here in the Milwaukee area with shooting the Milky Way, even if we get away from the downtown lights, we still have the light pollution from Chicago because we're looking south for the Milky Way. Makes it very difficult to get Milky Way shots, even up this far from Chicago, because Chicago has really bright lights. So let's say I wanted to shoot the Milky Way over top of the Basilica. I'm gonna go and turn on the Milky Way. Oh, I might have to go here. Milky Way. So let me turn off the moon just to make it simpler, the moon layer. So what this is I'm set right now on March 14th, just as the Milky Way is rising. And there's a bunch of concentric circles. And how I picture this is a bowl over top of my head. So the outside of the bowl is the horizon, and the center of the bowl, it's a bowl over your head looking straight up in the middle. And so as I move the timeline, you'll see a line of dots, and those dots are the Milky Way. And so if I move the timeline, you'll see, and I just long pressed it. If I move the timeline, you'll see the Milky Way move. So the Milky Way starts to rise. It's on the horizon at about 3 a.m. on next Friday. And by the time it gets more vertical to where you can see it, the sun comes up and the Milky Way goes away. So that's like 6:30 a.m. So March, it's more difficult to get a shot of the Milky Way. So if I go, let's just go to the summer solstice, which is a good time for shooting the Milky Way. I go on the 21st. Another thing that you want to take in consideration when you're shooting the Milky Way, especially as a beginner, you want a very dark night. So it's often good to find the night of the new moon. So I'm going to quickly go to the moon. One of the things I like about that moon pill is if you go to the calendar, it gives you a calendar that has the full moon and the new moon on it. And so if I go to June, the 20th, 21st, there's a crescent moon. The full moon is on the 11th. The new moon is on the 25th. So the best time to shoot, go back here, is on the 25th of June. 25th. And I keep forgetting to press OK. And now it's the 25th of June. So now if I go back to the nighttime, yeah, I can't do that with the mouse every time. So if I back up into the nighttime, you'll start to see this Milky Way setting. in the southwest, and there it's kind of vertical, and now it's coming down. So this gray line is when the Milky Way rises. The dark gray line is when the Milky Way sets. So as I move the timeline, you want to be out there if you want. You can see that the Milky Way, I think each one of these lines is 10 degrees. So you're like 20, 30, 40 degrees. This line is about 40 degrees above the horizon. And so if you go out at 11 o'clock at night and you want to shoot the Milky Way and you're looking southeast, this is looking southeast. And so if I move later in the night, move the time bar, it's almost vertical when you're shooting right towards the basilica. So you could get the Milky Way vertical over top of the basilica. I don't know how dark it is up there. I think it's pretty dark, so you might be able to get it. I think I might save this plan and go up there that day and try to shoot the Milky Way over the Holy Hill Basilica. But there it is at 2 a.m. is the best time to be there to shoot the Milky Way. And then by 3 o'clock, it sets and it starts. It's summertime. It gets dark. It gets light so early in the morning. And 4 o'clock, we're already in blue hour.
Drema,
Yeah.
also the parking lot should be gated off too, so you shouldn't be able to go into the basilica grounds.
At
They have
that
a
time of
gate.
night.
Yes, the gate
Well,
closes at 5 or 6 at night.
yeah, but this is where I'm sitting right now is near the road.
Oh yeah, if you're on the road, but if you're in the parking lot of the basilica, that's off
Yeah.
limits.
Yeah, I don't know that you want to be in the parking lot because that parking lot right at the basilica is looking north. And so if you park there and you're gonna have to set up your camera to shoot towards the south and the basilica is to your north. And so if you go north of the basilica and set up on this road and you get a telephoto lens, you might be able to get a good shot. I don't know how much of the sky you're going to get in the picture with a telephoto lens, but yeah, with a wide angle lens, the basilica is going to be a ways away, and it'd be pretty small in the picture. But
they often turn on lights on the Holy Hill after dark, so it could be very light there.
yeah, I've been up there and stayed pretty late and shot the full moon rising over the basilica from that parking lot. And I haven't been shut out. But like I said, I've also shot along this road. But in June, again, Clint, like you mentioned, it might be for that parking area and the picnic area, there might be too many trees blocking the basilica. But like I said, I know that you can see the basilica from some of the areas of that road. There's some fields there, and I wanted to go in, and if you can, there's a tree line there along that road, and there's a little entrance to this field. And so if you could go in and set up your tripod there, then that's the perfect place to see the basilica. But I don't know about whether people are going to shoot you or not if you are on their property.
Yeah, that's all
They-
private property.
Yeah, they don't like you parking there and shooting it. They've had too many people do dumb things that they pretty much keep the photographer out of there. So you'd have to either go to the their picnic area, which really doesn't have a great view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a little, I don't know exactly where it is, but there is a little pull off along that road where you can see the basilica.
Yeah, there. If you go the other way, past the church, there is the Ice Age Trail pull off.
No, there is that intersection. You can stop there and be on the road.
Yeah.
So it's about where you're at. It's just past that intersection there. You could see where the road's a little wider, and there is a pull off there. And there's a few other. You can park along the road all the way up to Highway K, And even on K, if it's late enough at night, you won't get much traffic,
Yeah.
but it is busier during,
But does
early
that make
evening.
sense to everyone of how to use this particular layer? It might be a little confusing, but it's just like I picture these circles as a bowl over my head. And as I move the timeline, you can see the Milky Way moving and the orange spot. I don't see the orange spot. Why don't I? Oh, the orange spot is on the augmented reality. It used to be orange here. I guess they changed it. This white line is the center of the galactic center of the Milky Way. So you can actually see at the different times exactly kind of what the Milky Way looks like. When it rises early in the evening, it's going to be kind of towards the southeast. And then as the night wears on, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and then right there is about where the basilica is. It's going to be almost vertical. So if you can see it from that parking area or from the picnic area, it would be a good place to get the Milky Way over top if it was dark enough. The lights actually, if they're not too bright to light up the whole sky at the basilica, it might be cool to get a picture with the basilica slightly lit up and then have the Milky Way over top of it. Might make a really neat picture.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of light pollution out there, though. It's hard to see.
Is it?
Yeah, because I live 3 miles away from there, and I've gone out in the middle of the night to look at it just to see if it's worth photographing. And there's so much light pollution. You got Hartford to the west of you, just a couple miles, and
Yeah.
Slinger the other way. There's a ton of light pollution out there.
Yeah.
So you don't generally see it.
When I moved up here, I was shocked by how much light pollution there is all over the Midwest. I'm from San Diego, as you know, and we always went up to the desert. Everybody goes up to the desert for the dark skies. They have a dark sky preserve in Door County, but most of Wisconsin is surprising how much light pollution there is over this entire area.
Yeah.
But Linnea, yes, people plan these shoots. They don't go out. It's very hard to get shots with luck.
Oh my gosh, Drema, I'm so impressed. I really appreciate your time tonight.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I enjoy going out and shoot. I used to go out more. And when it gets warm, I want to start going out and doing some night shooting. So any more questions?
So everybody needs to go out, buy the app, and start practicing, because it takes a lot. And if you don't work with it all the time, you do tend to forget how it works.
Yeah, and like I said, there's so much more here. There's augmented reality for field of view or depth of field. If I want to, wait. Field of view, I guess, augmented reality, it will show you well, that's not the one I'm thinking of. There was one where you can actually see where the focus is, and I don't remember where it is. Depth of field table, depth of field, it should be that one. Augmented reality. There you go. So if I'm standing here and I've got my settings, it shows me where the line of focus is, where where to shoot, how to set up your camera, all kinds of things. There's a bunch of different things in the hyperfocal, night AR, meteor showers. By the way, I was shooting in Utah in 22, and I have a picture. I don't know if anyone's interested, but I have a picture that I shot of the meteor shower. I was just out shooting the Milky Way, and I was in Zion National Park, and I was shooting at went out about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I went out to and this is just in the parking lot of the visitor center at Zion Park. And I was wanting to shoot the Milky Way. I was doing a panorama because I wanted to get an arch. I did get an arch, but each time it came up on my camera, I kind of glanced at it and let it keep moved the camera and kept shooting. But when this one popped up, I was like, oh my goodness, what was that streak? So when I went back to my hotel that night or that morning, the first thing I did when I was uploading my pictures is look for the picture with the streak. And it was this picture. And if you can't see in this JPEG, can I zoom in here? But there are 7, 1, 2, 3,
Oh,
there's a total of 7 meteors in this picture. And I was kind of blown away when I saw that. So I kind of used photo pills backwards. I was like, okay, there's a meteor shower here. I went to photo pills and I went to the meteor panel and looked up to see what meteor shower it was. And I found out that the date was in April. And I found out that it was the Lyrids meteor shower that I had captured there. And I was kind of like, oh, and I didn't even realize I was out that night shooting a meteor shower.
yeah, that's neat.
So I guess you guys want to continue your meeting. I can stop sharing.
Well, I know everybody, I think, is finding this interesting, and
Yeah, I have several pictures. I had this in a folder for that digital dialogue where I was showing some of the pictures of some of the Milky Way and stuff that I had shot. I don't know if this was 2021 in Azores in Portugal. We calculated where the sun was going to rise and went up in the hills and shot that. This one is, you guys know where that is, Wind Point Lighthouse. There's nowhere at Wind Point Lighthouse in Racine where you can get far enough away and still see the moon behind the lighthouse to make the moon really big. This was taken from the field there behind the house that's right there. Here's one of my favorite pictures. This was taken in the Mediterranean on the island of Mallorca. And this is the lighthouse. One of the tricks I had to do to keep this lighthouse from overexposing the image, because I think the Milky Way can be anywhere from 15-second exposure to a 30-second exposure. And so that leaving the shutter open for that long will overexpose the lighthouse. And so what I had to do is watch, and every lighthouse has a pattern, and so you count the seconds, you know, when it's coming around. And I covered the lens for the moment that the light pointed at me, and then I exposed it, and I kept doing that, and finally got this shot where it didn't overexpose the lighthouse.
wow.
And this was at the Photo Pills camp. We went out, there were about 30 people or something that went out that morning, and this is the way the sunrise looked, and everyone was hooting and hollering when the sun started getting really bright that morning. But it's just some pictures. And that's also in Menorca at the Photo Pills camp, at sunset one day. So, okay, I'll stop sharing now.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you,
but
Drema.
yeah, it's a great app for being able to know where the sun's going to come up and where it's going to set, and finding the Milky Way. When you're
Yeah.
out scouting during the day, at least you know if you're going to shoot from here where the Milky Way may be at night. That, and I've got other ones that I use that sometimes work when you don't have a cell signal.
Have you ever used Planet Pro?
No, that one I haven't tried.
Yeah, that one's even more complicated, I think.
Yeah, and I don't. Photographer's Ephemeris is one of them that I use, besides Photo Pills. The other one, and the one that I like, is Sunseeker. It doesn't need a GPS signal to be able to tell you where the sun is going to rise and set, and that. So, Photo Pills and I think Photographer's Ephemeris both need a cell signal to be able to work.
Yeah.
So you get it up into the northern Michigan and that where there's no cell coverage, then you sort of get stuck. And then I have the Sunseeker that still works, which is sort of nice.
But if you know where you're going to be, I think there's a way, I might be mistaken, but I think there's a way to download the maps.
Yeah,
in Google Maps, you can do that, and they're just using Google Maps. So I think there's a way to download the maps
I
for a
would,
specific area.
I would think there must be. I just never knew how to do it. But a lot of times I got lucky and I have Wi-Fi in my car, and as long as I have the Wi-Fi, it picks up a cell signal, then we were able to use it for right at the car. So that worked out nice. But it's worth having. A couple of those are worth having, but if you learn it, that's the big trick. My big problem is I don't use photopills as often as I should. And I'm out there fumbling around with it all the time. But
Yeah. Well, I would have been too. I was reviewing this week because, like I said, it's been a year or so since I've been in there, and I was beginning to forget things too.
yeah, yeah. But it's worth spending $10 on, or $11, whatever it's at nowadays. I bought mine years ago, so, and it keeps getting updated and still works, so.
Right.
What I like about it is you can save your plan, and then the next time you go there, you just change the date and you're all set.
Oh, I didn't show that. Do you want me to share and show you that real quick?
Yeah,
I
sure.
meant to show that. So I have set up the Milky Way and at the Holy Hill. And so if I save to a plan and a new plan.
You'll have to share your screen.
You're not sharing.
Oh, sorry. Share. I thought I was. Okay, now do you see it?
Yep.
So yeah, so I'm still at Basilica at the Milky Way in June. And so if I go to save down here and I go to plan, I can save a new plan and Milky Way over Holy Hill in June, and then click save. And then if I go and load another plan like Sunrise over the Art Museum in 2023, it took me, this was one, I didn't go out that day and shoot the sunrise over the museum downtown Milwaukee, but I planned to, but you can see I clicked on it and it immediately brought me up to the date and time. It was going to be September 13th in 2023 at 6:40 a.m. and I didn't get up for it. But now if I go back and load the Holy Hill one on the 2025, where is it? Milky Way over Holy Hill in June, boom, it goes right back there. So, and like I said, when I'm on my widget, you now see the Milky Way over Holy Hill that I just saved. It saves the next four. I think I don't know if there's a setting for that. Oh, it went right to the planner. I wanted to go to the settings. I'm not sure how. I mean, you might be able to set how many plans it shows you, but right now it's showing me 4. And the one I just saved is in June, so it's coming up. And so, yeah, you can save your plans and keep track of them.
Very
nice job, Drema. Nice job.
Thank you, Clint.
Come on. For some reason, my phone's playing music.
Oh.
So, Clint, you said you were going to show some pictures tonight?
Yes, we have a show and tell in that. I'm one of the people. Forget who the other person is tonight for show and tell.
Peter is. Yeah.
So I might just hang around for a few minutes.
Are you able? Yeah, are you able to stick around for this?
Yeah, stick around if you want, Drema. We don't do anything that's secret.
Oh, absolutely not.
I enjoy looking at the pictures, so yeah, I'll hang around for a bit.
We've got a few slideshows tonight. Clint, since you start with C and Peter starts with P, would you like to start? We'll just.
I might as well then. Let me fire this up.
And Clint, did you think the next time that you go down on a cruise, that might be a great field trip opportunity for the whole Menomonee Falls Camera Club?
We could. We could.
All
Maybe we
right.
could get a discount.
You got the
All right.
floor.
So you can see the my PowerPoint, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's do the
Yes.
play. Let's do this. All right, here we go. So all these pictures are done with my cell phone. So I took a flight down from O'Hara down to Orlando. There was so much snow, it was piling up. You couldn't even see across the runway and that. So there was a little delay. So they had to de-ice and that. I spent more time on taxiway than flying. So this was my chandelier in restaurant. This was another restaurant, high-end restaurant. This isn't the sea cruise that I went on, but from my sea cruise. I like this building. It's from right across the street from the pier. I like the beach there. That's where they do the satellites down at Cape Canaveral. And then this is inside that nice restaurant again. This is moonrise, sunrise. And then that's the ship I was on. This is the next couple pictures are going to be the Bahamas. So I'm quite happy with the phone, with the quality the phone your smartphone does. This boat's in the middle of nowhere, like 200 miles off. It's crazy out there on the ocean and in the Gulf with the amount of cruise ships. And then this was one of the sunsets.
Where did you leave from?
I left by Port Canaveral.
Mm.
And then this is shooting up that chandelier that was in that great room of the restaurant.
Clint, what type of phone do you have? These pictures are fantastic.
This is the Samsung S24 Ultra. I know they have the Samsung S25. But I'm quite happy with these pictures. Granted, you know, this is Puerto Rico. Granted, your phone does incredible, but a lot of times your digital camera or your mirrorless camera does a lot of times better jobs. But for going out, walking around, taking pictures, this is all of Puerto Rico.
Gorgeous.
Then they have live music on there. And then this is the Cayman Islands. And this is the first time I've been to where they drive on the opposite side of the road. Then they got chickens and then baby chickens. They're walking all over, so you got to be careful if you're driving that you don't run them over. I think there's 4 pictures of the sunset that I did here. And it's unbelievable how smooth the ocean was for the most part. Lake Michigan's rougher than when I was. So I was like shocked. So I like the rays. This is in Mexico.
Where were you in Mexico?
Has Cozumel or whatever.
Cozumel.
Yeah.
Did you go to Tulum? It's near there.
No, I didn't. I only stayed in this area. I did the snorkeling right in this area. I took that catamaran right there. And it's just downpoured right before I got on there. I mean, torrential. This was a restaurant, an Italian place on and then there's my omelets I had for breakfast. Another shot for the Cape Canaveral. I like the hallway on this when I came back into Orlando. I like the car. If you want to buy this house, it's only $7 million down in Orlando. And then right across the street is this beautiful park. They have all this moss on the trees and that. And like some of the perspectives, I love that view. It's like, that's a cool shot.
Mhm.
So there's very little editing on these pictures. I didn't spend a lot of time. That bird, it has to dry its wings off. And it's not like a regular duck or whatever. The people don't like this bird. I don't know what bird that is. This is a restaurant that I went to, and then they had this dog in there, Dallas, and that. Oh, I gave it so much love in that, and it gave me love back. I love the smoke coming out of the aircraft, and then that's Orlando when I left. And then I don't know if this is Nashville or whatever, and then this is the north side of Chicago. And then that's the end. So what I've learned from this trip is I hate flying commercial. Private jet's the only way to go. And yeah, that just completely sucks. And then also is if you have the money, buy a yacht too in that. Because then you don't have to deal with all the screaming people on the cruises. You know, some of them get drunk in that, so buy a yacht and buy a jet, private jet. You'll be
Clint,
set.
this is Tony. That sculpture that you had at the beginning that looked like a sail, that's kind of a takeoff on the sail that's in Dubai, which is
Yes,
about 5 times bigger.
that's why I took a picture of that. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. And that ship you showed, that was a Disney ship that we were on earlier in January.
Okay, you had a bunch of screaming kids.
Oh, it was fun.
Okay, good.
It's a week-long party. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I was on a week long too.
Disney needs if you don't want to. It's totally amazing.
Yeah, they have clubs for all age groups.
And there are secret passageways and stuff like that. So yeah.
The
And
one day I thought was kind of cool in one aspect is home. It was 11 below zero, and when I woke up in the Cayman Islands, it was 85 degrees warmer compared to home. It was 74 when I woke up. So on the cruise ship, also cruise ship must have is a balcony suite, and that because that inside studios or whatever, there's no air circulation. You're not breathing. You're just suffocating. At least with the door open. I had the door open almost every single day except for one day. So you always had the door open, getting fresh air day and night.
I love it. Thank you, Peter. Are you ready to start your slide presentation?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
That's good. All right, I'll share my stuff. Let's see how I'm gonna do this. I haven't let's see how do I all right, I have some pictures accumulated over the last 2 or 3 years. One of the things I like to do is nighttime photography, particularly things in the sky, which you could probably call astrophotography. And so I have some slides about that. And the first one I'll show you is Andromeda. This was taken, this is a crop, I think, of a photo, but it's taken at the Harrington Beach State Park. That's where I go to take some of the pictures there. It's somewhat darker, but it's not very dark. It probably was darker many years ago.
Is that a secondary galaxy off of there? Up above it?
Yeah, there's another galaxy up here.
Do you know what it is?
Is it 110? M110? I don't remember.
Oh,
M101 and M110, I think. Anyways, So I don't know the parameters. Some of these things I try to find on my laptop and put all this stuff together, and some of them I have to pull off of Facebook. And this picture is probably a stack of a bunch of images. I have a Nikon camera, of course. And I have several Nikon cameras, and I use for stacking photos. I use a free software called Cyril, Siril, and then I use DxO Photo Lab for post processing most of the time.
What lens did you use on this? That was taken with your Z6?
Yes. I probably had an adapter, which then I probably used my it's either what is it? I don't recall.
But you have
I have a tracker, so
yeah.
that's why I can stack these things. I have a I something other tracker. So I only use that pretty much at the park. When I go, my home is in Shorewood, Wisconsin, and of course there's a lot of light there. So you basically have to take, and I don't have access to the North Star. At least I didn't think so. I finally found out I had one in the backyard where I could place the camera in the right place and get North Star. But in the driveway, I don't have it, I don't think. But in the backyard, I do. But this was done at Harrington Beach State Park. I don't know, maybe a year ago. And then, this is not a nighttime photo, but this is taken at Columbia St. Mary's out the window, noontime. Somebody was getting some medical treatment, and I just happened to catch this cloud picture, which was really unusual, of a couple of other images like that. This was which comet was this? Could be Pons Brooks. I didn't take note which comet that was. There was a couple comets that came by. This was taken on top of the Metro Market parking lot in Shorewood, pointing west, where there's the big tower and TV tower that you see there. So that was early evening after sunset, and oh well, whatever. I put my notes here. It's comet 2023 A3 Tucson Atlas. Those Tucson Atlas is the two observatories that saw the Atlas, discovered the Atlas at the same time. Taken with my Nikon Z6 the Tamron 28 to 200, and so on and so forth. I forget what the ISO was. It's about a 2-second exposure. Well, it's actually a range of ISOs, and I didn't put it in there. It's 200, set at 200 millimeters. So it got a good picture of the comet. This was, I think, the October of last year aurora. This is done in Atwater Park in Shorewood along the Lake Michigan, pointing north. And I have a couple of these. These are taken with the Z6 with a 14 to 30 millimeter lens and ISO 800 and down to 200, 20 seconds, f4. And I have a shutter release. So there's a couple of these pictures. It wasn't too bad. It was lower on the scale of, the KP index. It was about 6, and I didn't think 6 could be seen down here. I actually went up to Door County years ago for seeing a 6, but this actually came down here to Milwaukee, and so that was nice, very nice. There was another aurora a few days later, and it was not as bright as this. I'm not showing those, but you can see the edge of the aurora right there. This was another comment. I didn't make. I don't think I have a. I don't think I made notes for this one. I'm not sure if it's the same one or if it's a different one. There's the Pons Brooks comet, and then there's the A3 comet, which we saw earlier. This is the same tower that was shown in the other picture in Sherwood, Metro Market parking lot facing west to Hubbard Park, where there's a couple. Well, there's actually one big tower at Hubbard Park, and then there's some right behind it at the WTMJ station. I don't remember which. They changed call signs years ago, and I've forgotten. This was. I just happened to step out in my backyard about midnight, and not a full moon, but I just caught it when the clouds are just making a breakthrough here to expose the moon. So it's actually not a bad picture. That was Z6 with a 400 millimeter lens, fixed focus. ISO 2000, 400 millimeters, half a second. Here's some backyard lightning photos. I have a very small backyard. I'm surrounded by 3 duplexes, and I'm in a single-story house. And I have a enclosure that I built that houses a Nikon D300, and it has a thing called the lightning bug, which detects the infrared before lightning actually hits. A visible part shows up. So it's an infrared detector, and it triggers a shutter ahead of time, even before the visible shows up, so that you can catch things like this. So that's one like that. There's a clear semi-spherical dome that's on top of the enclosure, so that's why all those raindrops are there. And I later on try to use that thing that you put on your windshield, but I'm not sure if that really helped. This is out of the front door of the porch. There's a nice sized lightning strike there. This is where this is actually at the same place, front door of my house. Before it rained a lot, it has an unusual lightning pattern there. So, anyways, that's why I showed that one. And I guess it originated somewhere miles behind the tree there. Yeah, it's a Nikon D300. Uses a Rokinon 8mm lens. ISO set to 200. Use 3 seconds, and a thing called the lightning bug, which triggers the shutter. This was done in my backyard. Since I couldn't find the North Star, I had to use fairly fast shutter speeds. This is a picture of Orion M42, I think it is. And it's so-so. I mean, it's not the greatest picture, but at least I did it in my backyard. It's 1.6 seconds per image, and I took 30 of them. ISO 6400. And I think I stuck it into the Serial program. And so I wasn't tracking. I don't think. And so when you're not tracking, it does drift, but then the stacking software will realign things. This is a crop of a larger photo, but this is Pleiades. I forgot what M number that is. M number meaning Messier number. Messier was a guy in Paris, I think, back in the 1800s. who cataloged a lot of the deep sky objects. And what did I use here? This is Z6 again. I had some filters installed and a Rokinon lens again. 135 is the preferred lens for some of the nighttime stuff or daytime stuff, either also for the sun. I took 20 images at 30 seconds. So I think this was also non-tracking because you take the rule of 1/500, anyways, there's some rule about depending on the length of the lens, how long you can keep the shutter open. Okay, on the right here is another comet. I don't recall what it was. This is same place in Metro Market in Sherwood, pointing west into Hubbard Park. And before sunset, or during sunset, it was I caught the comet. It took me a day or so to find it, but I finally got it. This one is same location. This is I'm trying to think of this. I think this is Pons Brooks, the name of the comet. And some of them I caught before before the tower, and then after passing the tower. So and then this is a converted picture. It's a this is what I use the Rokinon 135 millimeter lens for on my D3100. I have a solar filter and I point it at the sun, and then mostly it's yellow or whatever. And then I did some what do you call it? Basically checking for a transition. I forgot what it's called, but anyways, there's some filters in the software to bring out the sunspots. So it's not a sharp picture, but it's okay. So I think that's the end of the pictures. Let's see what you got here. Yeah, this is the information for the stuff I used in the backyard. I used primarily these two software. I used to go up to Harrington Beach quite a bit, but now these days I stay close to home, which is near my parents' house. My parents are actually live half a mile from me, and they've been in this. I'm actually calling in from a rehab center, which both of my parents fell, and separately on separate days, and so they're here. They've been here for a month and a half, so I visit them, and so I've not ventured far from home to do any astrophotography. In fact, I haven't done anything in like two months or so. But that's about it.
Wow. Peter, thank you. Those photos are great, and I'm so sorry to hear. I wish the best for your parents, and appreciate the time that you put into, making this slideshow for us.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're 90 years old. My mom's 93, my dad's 97.
Wow, awesome.
So they've been married 71 years in a few weeks.
Wow, well, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, all of our thoughts are with you.
Thank you.
Jeff, before we move on, and I also realize the time, Jeff, I see on here looking to trade or sell some equipment at Arts this Friday. Would you like to speak on that?
I'm just looking to unload some Canon equipment, and I noticed that Arts has got a rep down there, and they're kind of having this little promotion. So I was just wondering if anyone had any experience, trading and upgrading at Arts, or is something like MPB online a better choice for getting the best bang for the money.
I can say that we, when Mr. Hayes died in our club here, we tried to get rid of some of his equipment for his wife, and what I did was I went to some of the sites like B&H Photo and some of the other ones like Adorama, and you can get estimates of some of the prices that are there. Then go to this guy or person or woman, whoever is doing the evaluating of the equipment, and see how the prices either match or don't match. And we found that we were able to get better prices when we were there in person than when if we would have tried to have boxed them up and send them out and then have somebody, tell you, yes, this is right. And then if it's not right, they send them back. So it's a much more complicated. So anyway, I would think that would be good. And I will say I was in contact with the owners of that store now. As you know, that Arts was bought out by a group now that has other stores in Michigan, and they told me they're sort of promoting this. So this might be a good time because they might be trying to make a name for themselves right now in the city. So I would certainly take your stuff in.
I don't also know too is I know in the past I have sold some stuff there or traded some stuff in. Usually they give you a 10% what do you say, increase in that. What, let's say they gave you $600 in that, well, they give you another 10% on top of that if you get, like a in-store credit to purchase equipment through Arts.
Yeah, that's my intention because they've got quite a pretty good little special going on this weekend as far as buying new stuff. And so yeah, I got a quote from one of the online places, and I've got it printed out. So I'm probably just gonna go down there with all the equipment and what the other guys would pay, and see what they can offer, especially when I'm looking to buy some lenses. So
Yeah, I think that's a good start. Also is I went there a few weeks after, maybe a week or two. Yeah, I think it was only about a week after since the new store, since they were taken over. I know that they're trying to get new stuff in and more stuff. So, but it's very, when I went, it was very similar to what it was. But the staff seemed to be very nice and friendly.
Sounds
I
good.
would
Another way
also
to do it,
go ahead.
another way to do it is on eBay. I've been successful on eBay. One could talk about that for quite a while as to the best way, but if you do a good job of photographing your equipment and describing it well, you can get a lot of attention and maybe do a little bit better than trading it in at a store, but it does take some work.
I will. I was just going to say also check KEH for prices as well. They're pretty good with giving prices for stuff. The only thing I'll mention with if you are going to try to do these auction things online, I know eBay has had some issues that they're very buyer friendly, not so good with backing up the people who are selling. And so there are some people out there who are playing games with what you send, and they might say, "Oh, well, I didn't even get the equipment. I just got a box of rocks." And they take pictures of that stuff, and sometimes you can get burned. So you do have to be a little careful. It's not that it's, everybody has a problem, but there are some people out there, excuse me, who would sort of like to take advantage of the eBay situation. So just be careful. Watch who you're getting or selling it to, so you can check their ratings and stuff too to make sure that they're sort of a legit person. You don't want to go to somebody, this is their first buy, and it's you, and there's no track record for this person at all.
Yeah,
Last
best to sell to
September,
an individual rather than to somebody who's looking to get something at a low price and then resell. They have a store with all kinds of stuff, but I think you do better overall selling to an individual.
I last August, I was there was a KEH representative that came to the
Allied.
store. What? Yeah,
Allied.
Allied Digital Photo, And I took a bunch of stuff in and had them look at it and sold it and decided I got enough money that I went back and got some more equipment and sold it. They seemed to give me a pretty reasonable price, and it was easy. They let them look it over and they give you a price in a couple minutes and then hand you a check.
Yes, they did a really fantastic job with Jim Hayes's equipment and that, and a lot of times they exceeded, what other places were offering. Maybe not a lot, maybe $50, but $50 on, a few items, well, that adds up. That's $150, $200 extra.
You could buy a dozen eggs for that.
That's true.
Jeff,
Yeah,
Jeff, did you have any luck moving any of Carl's stuff? Because I think that Arts is going to have a Nikon rep down there. I don't know if it's this weekend. It might be next weekend.
Yeah, his son is going to keep a lot of the equipment. We still have to go through it. But yeah, he's going to keep most of Carl's mirrorless stuff and upgrade to what he had. And Carl didn't have all that much. He was getting rid of stuff sort of constantly. He's got a couple of F-mount lenses that I'll probably tell Sean to get rid of. But just remember that when you sell to these guys, to any of these people, KEH, Adorama, Arts, you're getting wholesale prices for it because they have to mark it up to resell it later. But it is a great way to get rid of something, especially if you want to buy something. I mean, I'm looking at Arts, and they will give you 10% more if you buy a camera or some equipment from them. I would bet they'll be about the same price as KEH, but KEH, I've sold all my stuff through them, and KEH has always done real well for me, both at Allied Digital Photo and just sending it right into them. I've also used Adorama. They get a little more tricky. They sometimes play a few more games, and if you get lucky, sometimes you can get some good deals out of Adorama if you're planning to buy something too. But yeah, it's a good way to get rid of equipment and be done with it.
Jeffrey, I'm going to log off here. And say
Okay,
goodnight.
thanks, Drema.
Linnea, are you the president of the club?
This year, yes. Not next
Okay.
year, this year. Drema,
right.
thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. I was happy to. That was fun. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Jeff,
Well-
can I talk about our need for some photos? That be all right?
And Jim needs some photos for Wacko.
Please
let me
go ahead.
just-
I'm sorry, I'm at a loss.
Okay,
Yeah.
as you know, we have our competitions and we have different divisions that we can send things in and have them judged. This time around, we're doing a creative category, which means you can pretty much do whatever you want, including AI and all these other things that you can do, but you have to start with a base that is a photographer's base. So once you have that, now you're free to experiment in any way. And we're going to be sending out a little flyer to all of the clubs and people that we have emails for Wacko. And I'm just looking for a couple of photos that if somebody had one that they experimented with and they really liked the way it turned out, and you wouldn't mind that we used it as an example of one of these creative photos, I would love for you to send it to me or to Jeff, and then we'll get them back, and then I can't tell you we'll use everything we get, but we're just going to send out about 5 or 6 of them, because we're also thinking of experimenting with this category and leaving it in the competitions for, let's say, another 2 or 3 competitions beyond this, if people really like this category.
So our plea is just if anybody that does anything with AI, just send me some of the photos and we'll maybe use them. because none of us
Yeah.
seem to have any.
Well, be sure you put your name there too, because I'll put your
Yeah.
name in, showing that this is something you did. So, but yeah, some of you are, and especially in this club, I know many people are experimenting all the time with different things. And I'm sure there's probably a few of you out there that have got a few things and went, oh, this is really pretty neat. And this would work in that category. So again, just send them and we'll take a look at them and we'll try to squeeze them in.
Sounds great. Sounds kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm just going to quick go through some of the things that we were going to talk about, but I'm just going to kind of go through. The photo shoot that you guys did for close-ups looked absolutely wonderful. I was going to do a shout out to give feedback, but I think we'll pass on that tonight. Ellen, next month, I'm more than happy to help in regards to the t-shirt logo. Will we be able to put something together for the newsletter for that?
I think if we get Patty involved, yeah, we can probably at least narrow it down from the first group and show some. What we can do is the three of us could probably do a pre-screening, or if somebody else wants to get involved in that as well. But I think sometime during March, we should at least pre-screen and narrow it down to maybe a handful rather than, I think there were like 13, 14 or 15 of them. And we will eliminate the one with the trees and the screen and hope that doesn't hurt your feelings, Jeff. But that was the one that was really
that's what we want to get rid of. So
yeah,
I just
right.
put it in so that we knew what we had right now.
I'm making a unilateral decision. That one will not show up again. And so that's not a problem. But yes, I think maybe between the three of us for sure, and anybody else who contacts one or a couple of us, we can get that ready by the middle of the month so that we can at least go ahead. There still are so many things. This still has a lot of moving parts is what it is, but getting a suitable design that might be flexible, and Patty has revamped her original sketches, which probably a lot of, or some of them would work well on some different items and so on as well, whether it's hats, bags, shirts, scarves, whatever you, God bless it, I got bugs here. Whatever we determine. So I think we can do that.
Okay, well, we got a plan.
Yeah.
Brian, the zoo, March 15th.
Yeah. Hey, spring is coming on, and but the first, we're doing 2 trips to the zoo this year. So this first one is March 15th. So the gates open at 9:30. We'll be gathering in the inside the U.S. Bank building gathering area. We'll be gathering there, and so people, I suppose, will start getting in around 9:45. But whenever we have a good stable group, then we'll head out. And so just keep in mind. So the weather looks like we're going to be in the low 40s. The aviary, as a reminder, is closed, but everything else is open. And so one of my favorites always is the primates, but there's the mammals building, the aquarium. Big cats will be open. I don't think the elephants will be outside, but just so hopefully we'll have a good number, a good turnout, and looking forward to having as many of you as possible on March 15th. So, any questions? Oh.
Okay. I just threw out on Facebook. I know, Jeff, you're probably familiar with it. I have never been, being a Richfield resident. They have maple syrup day. And what really got me was the pancake breakfast on March 22nd over at, is it the Historical Park or Heritage Park?
It's the Richfield Historical Park. Yeah, they're right now they're collecting the sap to make the maple syrup. You're able to buy, I believe, buy maple syrup once they get it cooked down, which it takes a lot of cooking down to get maple syrup.
Right.
And then, yeah, I believe I I didn't see. I know they're doing it. I don't know about the pancake breakfast.
Oh, no, it's for real. I saw that and then I
Yeah.
put it out on our Facebook, yeah. And the pancake
Well,
breakfast is from 9 to noon. And they also have the blacksmith also operating. So it's not a real field trip, but if anybody is interested in going, let's put it out there to the group because I would be.
I know some people who do maple syruping there, but right now the sap isn't running well, and it's something that's really weather dependent. So I don't know if they're going to have. I don't know if they hold over batches from last year or whatever they do for the pancake breakfast or whatever. But having been involved with it many years ago, I just know that it's like good days and bad days. It's like, is a sap running? And then when they start cooking it, it takes a lot of sap to cook down. Let's put it that way. So
40-to-1 ratio.
It's what?
It's 40-to-1.
40. It's a lot of sap.
Wow.
Yeah, but they've got a lot of trees to collect a lot of sap. I know. They
Okay.
usually have maple syrup left over when they're selling it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good maple
Okay,
syrup.
well,
I mean, it's
my-
certainly a lot
my-
better than
the
log
group
cabin.
I love log
the group my
cabin.
husband was in years ago was a smaller group, and they had not as many trees, but it was still labor intensive once the sap starts running. So I'm sure this is a totally different situation, but
And it will be, Ellen, we're
I'll
just gonna
probably
eat
one
breakfast and shoot photos. We are not volunteering,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, so, but again, I'm just throwing that out there. If anybody is interested,
cook.
send me a message, whatever. I think it would, as long as it's warm enough, I would love that. I think it would be really enjoyable. Jeff, the only other thing that I have on my agenda, I didn't touch on the orchid show, but I saw some beautiful pictures, is we have a line from a song. My video is like 3.5 minutes. But we didn't cover PSA or WACO. What?
Well, the only thing with Wacko that we have going right now is the photo competition, which the deadline to enter those images is March 23rd at midnight. It's a month earlier because I wasn't available to run the Zoom in May, so we moved it up a month. So everybody remember that it's a deadline is a month earlier. Roger was the first one to get images in. I can't remember who the other, I know I've got images in, and there's one other person. Oh, Jesse's got some in too. So please get your images in. With it being an early deadline, you might have a better chance to win some awards because there'll probably be less images entered than normal because of the early deadline. PSA, we're having the Teams Challenge, showing the images of who won in the Teams Challenge. They're being judged right now, and they'll be showing that in the afternoon. That's coming up.
May 16th.
Yeah. And then they've got the field trip in May 15th. I'm trying to remember when we have chapter meeting is March 16th for the one, and then they have the chapter outing, which is going to Dubuque, Iowa, in the middle of May. So that's about it. Wacko has digital forum, and let's see, I could have pulled that up and I didn't. I have in March, Marty Welter is going to be talking about drone photography, sort of the basics of getting into drones. So if you're thinking you want to buy a drone, come join our digital forum in March. That's the fourth Saturday of the month at 10 o'clock. In April, I have Chris Scott coming, talking about the basics of On One. In May, I have Nicole Brennan talking about the basics of night photography, shooting the Milky Way pretty much. And June, we're hoping to have Jim Karofsky in our group here talk about lighting photos or processing photos so that he has a technique for lighting them up and making certain points emphasized. I'm working on more stuff for July through the end of the year for Digital Forum. Digital Forum is free to attend. Just go to the WACO website and sign up under Digital Forum. And if you didn't see it, you should go to the WACO website and look at the last speaker we had at Digital Forum. Kevin Adams did a super job on photographing waterfalls both day, and the real interesting part is how he photographs waterfalls at night. It's something a little different that you don't normally see. It's up on the WACO website, and you should be able to, you can watch that. Or watch it on the YouTube channel that WACO has, which if you can, for both WACO and Menomonee Falls Camera Club, we both have YouTube channels. Please subscribe. We need all the subscribers we can get. It helps. Hopefully one of these days we can maybe monetize the YouTube channel. But it'll also bring in new members, hopefully. That's all I've got.
I got a question.
Sure.
For our Christmas party, I know we tried to sell some of Jim's Hayes's equipment. I know Ian and I believe it was Dominic or Jeff. We were going to have them try to send a check or mail some money for Jim Karofsky, and I wasn't quite sure if Ian and Dominic or Jeff were able to pay up or not on the things they bought from Jim Hayes.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. I lost Jim's address. I took it to Ireland with me and I lost the address, so I'll need to get Jim's address again to send him the money.
Okay, well, I'll work with Jeff and we'll get that to you.
Sure, yeah. Just send me
I have your
email.
address. I have your address right here. It's on my to-do list, and I have not sent it. So.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
I've not forgotten. It's just sitting here.
Okay, well, with that, I will play the President's Challenge for March, which was a member recommendation, a line from a song, which was really fun. Looking at everybody's photos was really cool. So I'll do that. It's 3.5 minutes. It's a little after 9, but then if there's any questions or if there is anything that I missed, then we can address it then. And hopefully I'm finally going to get this right.
Don't forget to check the box for sound.
I think I did, Jeff, but oh gosh, now I'm afraid because I was actually, okay, let's see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
That sound?
Yeah, we got the sound.
These are really fun. My only dilemma was that was a 3-second video or a 3-second image shot. I didn't know if 3 seconds or 4 seconds. So if anybody could just message me over the next month as to what the proper second is, I would really appreciate that. Anybody, guys, did I miss anything? Did Jeff miss anything for this month's meeting?
I got one crazy question, and this is something just to think about. I'm wondering if we could possibly change our meeting date to a different Tuesday. I've got an opportunity to work with Menomonee Falls as a planning commissioner, and they meet the first Tuesday of the month.
You don't want to tell them to move their meeting?
Yeah,
I can't get them to
it.
move their meeting, and I love being a planning commissioner. I'm just curious if it would be something we could think about doing, if the group would care or not.
When do you need an answer by?
Well, they're looking for somebody right away, and I don't want to leave this group in a lurch. And since I run the Zoom meetings, so and this isn't something that's I'm sure about yet. It's just I was asked by the village president if I'd be interested in doing it, since I have a history of doing planning commission work in Richfield. So just something that maybe we can think about and talk about next month. I won't leave this group in a lurch. If you guys don't want to move it, that's fine with me, and then I'll stay here and I won't do planning commission. I have enough other projects going that there's a few of you that are probably going, is he nuts? He's going to do something else besides all the things I'm into now. But I just thought I'd ask if we would maybe want to move it a week to, the second Tuesday of the month, if that would be a problem.
Does it have to be a Tuesday, or could it just move it?
We could move it to any day, really. I just thought we had picked Tuesdays at one time, and I haven't looked to see where other clubs meet for some of you guys that are in multiple clubs.
Yeah,
just something.
Not a great day.
Yeah, just something that I'm asking. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or not, but I was asked, and I got to admit, I love working with the planning commissions for villages. It's an interesting process.
I will tell you that the Wednesday is the Retzer Club and Thursday is UVPC. So I know that those 2 days during the first week would be a problem if you moved it and stayed in the first week of the month.
Right. And I do have somewhere in here, I don't think, let me see if I've got a calendar. The second Tuesday of the month, Focal Point meets. Retzer meets on Wednesday. A whole ton of them meet on Thursday in the first week. East Troy Viewfinders meets on Monday. PSA is on Sunday. Focal Point Camera Club, is the second Tuesday of the month. I don't think any of us are in that. So, if we wanted to move it a week, it's a weird ask. We've done this for 40 some years. I wasn't sure if I wanted to ask or not. And then I thought, why not see what the club thinks and think about it over the next month, and we'll see. I'm going to check into this a little bit more. I was sort of disappointed when I saw that they meet the first Tuesday of the month for planning commission. So
Yeah, I'm just throwing this out there. Would it be helpful for you to know before we meet again next month? I mean, should we, even if we say the second Tuesday of the month, or second or third Tuesday, could we just throw that out to the group, and then they can either respond to me an email or yourself or whatever, just to see what the gauge is?
I could send it out as an email and see how people respond.
Yeah, just so you can move forward.
I would send it out as a survey, so people have a choice of maybe even possibly saying a different day during the second week or whatever, but give some options.
Sure. Okay. I'll type something up and send it out since I have the whole mailing list. And we'll see what people say. Again, I'm not sure if I would get appointed or not. It's just that they have an opening, they're looking to fill it, and they're looking for somebody qualified. And since I have 17 years on Richfield, they were sort of interested in me. But
That's cool.
yeah, so it's sort of an interesting thing. If people have time, you really should get involved with your local government. It's an eye opener to see how a lot of this stuff works. And I started out 17 years ago doing it for Richfield. Just by a fluke, I just walked up to the village president and I said, I've got time. I'd be glad to, help out in the village. I thought I was more offering to be a photographer. And he said, "Oh, how'd you like to be a planning commissioner? We've got an opening we can't get filled." And here I did it for 17 years. And some of it was a little stressful. I'm glad I'm not a planning commissioner right now because they're looking to put a halfway house for women in the village, and there's a big uproar going on with that, and it all starts with planning commission. But it's something that I enjoy doing, and that. So,
Jeff, when do we vote on that?
What, on the halfway house?
Yeah.
I believe it got postponed till their next meeting.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. I wasn't even sure about the halfway house of what they were doing until I started researching it. I don't follow Richfield as much anymore. I'm now following the complicated workings of the village of Menomonee Falls. So I'll send a survey out and let's see what everybody says. And I mean, it's a big ask, and if we can do it, great. If not, it's no big deal. I have enough stuff going on. This is sort of silly that I'm even considering it, but Ken and Brian are probably looking at me and going, "Are you nuts?" I need a 6x6 to hit me straight in the head a few times, but
I remember some of your comments when you were working on the Richfield Planning Committee.
yeah, there were good times and there were bad times with it. As with any job when you work in local government, and but it is an interesting job. Doesn't pay much, but it's interesting.
Well, let's get the survey out. Let's see how people think about it.
Let's see what we'll see what you guys say, and we'll go from there.
We'll find something.
So,
okay.
Great. Thanks for listening, guys.
Well, good night, everybody. Thank you. This was a great meeting. I learned a lot. And we'll see you then sometime in April. Well, no, we'll see you at the zoo, maybe the pancake breakfast, but definitely in April.
Sometime to be determined.
Absolutely. Bye, all. Have a great
care.
month.
See everybody.
Thanks, Linnea. Good meeting.
Thank you for the meeting, you guys.
Oh, Clint, did your board for EAA?
We talked about it real quick in that, so we might be able to do something. I know usually they don't, but they're making maybe an exception to this because they're part. You are part of me for the chapter and that, so they'd be willing to maybe do something in that. And some of them would be interested in participating too in that, getting tickets and, joining the dance.
Okay.
So tomorrow I actually had the boardroom meeting for tomorrow too. So I'll talk to them tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, we have put it till next year. So this would be next year project because we want to advertise it right and do all that. So
Yeah. I still have to contact EAA about the insurance and that about if it's legal to having a third party come into our facility and
right.
sell alcohol.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah. And that's the part that could get a little tricky, is selling the alcohol. We're trying to look into that ourselves to see how we can do that. But yeah, great.
Cool.
Just
Well,
was curious.
Yeah, no, I've been keeping an eye on it, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because then I can contact EAA. I contacted them today or yesterday on a question yesterday. I talked to them, so I got to talk to them again and that. But no, thank you for the great reminder. How do you like your 360?
I wish I had more time to play with it. I've taken all sorts of pictures with it, but they're all still sitting in the camera. So.
I could have used that when I went scuba diving.
I bet. And that camera, I think, can go underwater. I think down to 10 or 20 feet, not real deep, but
yeah, I think maybe up to even 30 feet or something like that.
Yeah,
but
it could
then they said that 30 or 33, but then you can buy that plastic housing, and I think you can go maybe down to 150. I'm not 100% sure, but you rather do that because then it's nice and sealed.
Right. Yeah. You don't want it to leak and mess everything up. But
so
with skin diving, it wouldn't be a problem because you're not going to go much deeper than 30 feet.
Yeah.
But
you'd have to have
scuba diving, yeah, you might.
So cool. Well, I'm glad that you asked me about that. So
yeah. I thought I'd check. Just I knew you were on the cruise and all that, so I haven't been didn't want to bug you about it. So
yeah, I've been crazy busy and that.
Yeah.
So
glad you had a good time on the cruise. It looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was okay. The buffet kind of the food kind of sucked on the buffet and that. I mean, the breakfast was good, but the dinner, mediocre. So, but the high end places where you had to pay extra, well, yeah, that was really good.
Wow. Yeah. See, when I went, you didn't pay extra for the places. You just went and ate. Period.
Yeah, there's a lot more stuff.
Yeah, they've changed it because you had the high end stuff where you could eat every night, or you could do the buffet and just grab a burger or whatever, and that stuff. The midnight buffets were always pretty fancy, but yeah, it's that was my younger days when I drank a lot more.
What was really good, they had burning the floor. And it was a dance thing. Oh, phenomenal. I talked to the director. I showed him my website. If I had my camera, it sounded like he would have gave me permission. He said that and before the show started, no video, no pictures are allowed. But I talked to him after, and that is like, well, if you do, let me know before you do. But it sounded like I would have been able to get some pictures.
Yeah.
But of course, then I'm bringing my camera, my phone and that.
Well, it looked like you got some really good pictures with that phone. So
I'm really happy,
Yeah.
And it, almost everyone carries a phone with them. It's their life.
Yeah, we should do more iPhone or phone photography for the group. I'll have to remember that when we start planning in August.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, I think it's kind of important. And like I said, I did very little editing, and it's funny because I got done with putting the stuff together because I was done with the pictures by 6:30, and by the time I put it together on the slideshow, and that yes, I could have went picture by picture, in the preview thing, but I wanted to do it in PowerPoint. So I got that 12 minutes before 6:48. I got it done.
Yeah, well, you got it done and it looked good. So
yeah, so I was like I said, I was happy. I was very happy.
Yeah, and you're right. Getting a balcony room on the cruise ship is really nice.
I had the door closed. Usually I closed it sometimes when I did the shore excursions and stuff like that. But at night kept it open. But when I had it closed, there was no air circulation, and it stunk. Yes, you can have the air conditioning on or the heat and that, but I liked having it always open.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, my last cruise, I had a suite where I had a separate sitting room and a balcony, and then the 2 beds, and it was really nice. And that was the end of my cruising because we started to do other things. But yeah, we did a lot of Carnival cruises, and the more you did, the more upgrades you got. So you could. After our 4th or 5th trip, we were starting to get 3 or 4 upgrades to the really nice cabins. I mean, we started out in the boiler room almost. We were, below
with the crew,
below waterline, right near the crew, and right above the engines in the back, and you always heard that thrumming noise.
Yeah.
And then by the time we did our 5th or 6th cruise, we had so many upgrades that we had a suite.
Yeah.
And that was really nice because you could just sit out on the deck and watch the water go by, or sit on the couch and have the food delivered right to the room, so you didn't have to even go out.
Well, you're absolutely correct. Well, then also what is nice is on the balcony, I don't know how half the time I spent out there, not saying, during the day, but even at night, because it was so nice. It was the stars were so bright, you heard nothing. It was so quiet.
Yeah.
And also, like what you mentioned too, and that I know Norwegian, and I'm sure the other ones, well, if you spend $250, and you pre-book for the next cruise or whatever, or have an idea, you get $200 back. So it's an extra free $250.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you can slowly build upgrades and get those better rooms for less money, a lot less money.
Yes.
It can be a lot of fun. I sort of stopped when they had that sickness going on the cruise ships. And
viral of
Aura. I don't remember what it was called, but
or was it SARS? Because that would be way back.
Yeah, it was quite a ways back, and everybody was getting sick on the ships, and we just decided we had enough, and we just started going to Florida. I had a friend who worked for Hyatt Regency, and he all of a sudden they were starting to give him 10 free days at any Hyatt that you wanted to go to.
Yeah.
So we would go down to Florida and Hyatt hop from Orlando to Tampa, and all that, and we'd get 6 or 10 days worth of free hotel stay in a really nice room. And so we just started Hyatt hopping all over the country, and it was real nice.
The Woodside Hotel by Hilton, that was really nice. You actually had a studio. You actually had like a king size bed, a living room, a TV, a mirror TV, kind of a walk-in shower. You had a kitchen, $125. Like, man, that's a good deal.
Wow, it is.
That first picture was one of the first pictures, Airbnb, and that was only $165. All the other places are more. It's and it's also prime season too.
Yeah.
But definitely don't go during spring break. I mean, granted, when we were younger, we could do the spring break, but now I don't want to deal with that. But Orlando, I thought was nice, and then I don't know if you've been to Sarasota. Sarasota's been really nice and beautiful.
Yeah, I've stayed more in Tampa than Sarasota, but I've been through Sarasota a lot. It's a nice area. We've been all over. We used to cruise out of Miami more than anything. We ended up, we would always start and end down there, and then we would drive up usually to Orlando and stay, and then sometimes we just flew out of we'd fly into Miami and out of Orlando.
Yeah.
So it depended on the airline that we wanted to use, but
That's a big airport down there in Orlando, man.
yeah, it is. It's a huge airport, and flying has gotten to be such a pain.
It is. Well, that's why I joked with private jet and that, I didn't say, like, yeah, you got to get basically strip search and cavity checked. And, it's like, it's a pain in the butt. Ever since, with me flying and that, I don't have to deal with that crap.
Right. I hate flying, and I end up having to prepare, because with all the camera gear I take, I've had TSA really rip the stuff apart, and I've spent an hour or two at TSA trying to get through, and so I just plan 3 hours ahead to make sure that I can get through it all right. And I don't have any problem, but my camera gear always seems to cause a problem. So, especially in Milwaukee. Orlando's not quite so bad. I could get through TSA pretty quick because I have the pre-pass and all that, so that helps you get through a little faster. But it's the flying. I miss the old days of nice jets with nice seating instead of this cramped seating that you get.
And they're not comfortable either.
No, they're not.
2 hours is like 2 hours is like about the almost max I would really want to be. Now they had like first class in that. It's like, oh, they got more room, a little bit more roomier. Now too, in that when you go overseas and that Europe and that, it's like, yeah, then it's like, yeah, then you got to go business class or something, but then you're paying a premium price.
Yeah. I'd like to fly business class. I did figure out a way to do Southwest, because I'm a heavy set person.
Yeah.
They consider me disabled, and they give me 2 seats for the price of 1.
Oh, nice. Okay, good.
And that's nice, because then at least you can spread out. And when Ken and I travel, we sit together, so we take up the 3 seats, and we both have room with the middle seat empty, and that works out really halfway decent. But you got to go through a whole lot to get the 2 seats, and you got to pay for 2 seats in the beginning. Then when you get back, then you got to get them, and they'll refund the money, and it's a lot of horsing around, and that. But I'd rather fly like Delta or one of the ones that has first class and just be done with it.
Yeah, no, I took Frontier down there.
Oh boy,
and then I took American on back in that. But yeah, that Frontier. I guess what's even worse than Frontier is Spirit or whatever, or Sprint.
Yeah. You picked one of the low end airlines, that's for sure.
Well, one thing is there was nobody in check, check your baggage. That was easy in and out. And that when we flew down to in that, like I said, and to it, I forgot to mention, I didn't go to bed until after 3 a.m. That was Eastern time and that. So and then boarding was like our time slot was, I think, from 11:30 to 12:30. Well, we got there at like 1:05 and that. So made it, but it was a long, I made it and that, but it was still a long, long day.
Yeah, I bet. I always fly when I did cruises. We always flew in a day early so that
that's what I did.
Just hop a cab and get right in there. But
that's what I did in that, because I went on Friday and boarding was on Saturday, just in case if something happens. Well,
right.
And that did happen. That did affect me in that. And by the time I got down there and got the luggage, it was after 1:05, I think was it. And then by time, get an Uber and stuff like that to go over, or let's say rent and that, it was like another hour later in that. So now you're at like 2:30 by the time it got to the whole, the Airbnb.
Yeah. No, it's crazy stuff. Well, sounds like you had a good time overall. So
yeah. Like I said, I was happy with the pictures. A lot of people did like the pictures too, and that.
Yeah.
So I showed my friends.
I thought they came out great, and I mean, that's a good point of, not taking all that gear and just having fun, enjoying the trip and just using your phone.
I wouldn't.
It's,
I would not. I mean, of course, if I had private jet, yeah, then I would bring it. But airliners, I wouldn't really want to deal with all that. And then too, boy, they would charge an arm and a leg, and that because well, Frontier was 40 pounds, and that was the limit. Well,
yeah.
our camera equipment, camera lenses, and that you can get easy 50 pounds worth of
Oh
camera.
yeah, it's my carry-on bag usually weighed 40 pounds, and you had to, and they really don't like you putting that heavy of a bag up in the upper bin.
Usually
So you
30
got to
pounds.
make it look like it's light. You just pick it up and throw it up there, and then you sit in the seat and go, "Oh God, I hope I didn't pull something because it's so heavy." But yeah, I have a way to pack that I can pack everything, but it's still, I do hate flying with that much gear. And
No,
but
well, like with you, when you go down to the Smoky Mountains, it's great with a pickup truck or a truck or an SUV. You can
yeah,
have it. I like driving a lot, but well, going down to Sarasota, I mean, it took like 20 hours worth of driving, 2 days. Well, I
yeah,
made it down there in 2 hours. Okay, going down there, it took only 2 hours and 9 minutes.
yeah, yeah. So it's certainly a trade-off, and I've driven down to Florida to do some of that stuff, and I've flown. And yeah, if I'm going way down in Florida, I'll fly because I don't drive past about 12 hours away, because that you can do in one day if you have to, and that's the Smoky Mountains
Yeah.
is about 12.
Well, I was by
So
Chattanooga and that very beautiful area, and that
oh yeah,
I was in a hotel, Mount Eagle, and that was a really nice area, and that
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty down there. I'm hoping to get down there one of these days. I just have to find a dog and cat sitter. So, but no, yeah, those trips are nice. I've done a lot of trips and I've done a lot of flying. I used to fly 2 or 3 times a year, so I got pretty good at it for a while.
yeah.
Now I haven't done it for quite a while, so I'd be rusty again. But I was always nervous flying. I don't mind. I don't get nervous about the airplane. It's making the connections and all the hassles that go with flying.
Perfect example. And I was kind of pissed off at the people in that. There was 2 people in the back of the plane. Of course, I was way in the back too, and that they had to catch their flight from Chicago to Milwaukee, and that. Well, they're like, oh, my plane leaves in a half hour. I don't think they made it, and the people didn't move. They even went over the intercom, like, hey, these 2 people need to get through. Nobody moved.
Yeah.
I understand, like, well, you shouldn't have booked it that close and that. And then what sucks is, especially when I went down there, the terminal, it was the farthest terminal to the end too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. And then O'Hara too, and that it's like, oh my God, we taxied for like 20 miles. We went over the freeways. Like, we might as well just drive home on this airplane. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, some of those airports are just so big. I mean, you look at Orlando and how big that airport is. It makes O'Hara look like a dinky little thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
well, too.
Oh yeah.
Coming back, boy, had some air turbulence and that. Man, I had to hold the drink in that. It's like, man, this is a rough. And then too, man, did he hit hard. I know you do want to do a hard landing if it's raining and that, to make sure by pushing down, it usually pushes all the rain out of the way. But man, it's like I thought he was going to rip the wings off. Just like what happened in Toronto and that, and then flip it.
Yeah, yeah. No, sometimes they're not gentle, and you sometimes wonder. Some of them float it down the runway, and others just jam it right in and want to hit those marks, right on the mark. So
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're not jet fighters on an aircraft carrier where you want that hard landing.
Yeah, yeah. No, well,
All
oh
right. Well, I
yeah,
suppose
fun
I should
stuff.
probably let you go. I can talk to you all night, but no, thank you for
Yep,
asking and thank you
no
for all your
problem, no
input.
problem. Thanks for doing it. I'll let my group know and that we're still working on it. And
Okay.
since it's going to be next year, we got plenty of time to try to work out all the bugs and that because wasn't going to work doing it this quick. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
we'll work
that'll be
together
good.
and let's keep reminding each other.
Yep, yep. I will do that. Well, thanks. You have a good evening, Clint.
You're welcome.